Welcome into another episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. I am Will Thomas, and today we're going to attack the debate about the SEC. Right, so bowl season is underway, and the SEC teams that have currently played in their bowls are not performing well. You know, obviously you saw A&M get beat in the playoff by Miami in College Station, and then just yesterday, LSU and Missouri both lost their bowl games. And what that is leading to, shockingly, is a lot of discourse from fans of the Big Ten and the ACC and the Big 12, just everybody else who has SEC fatigue, talking about how the conference was overrated, right, and how the SEC is fraudulent. They shouldn't have this many teams in the playoff. So let's unpack this slowly here, because believe it or not, I don't agree with that, if you couldn't tell by the logo in the top of the screen here. So the claim that the SEC is fraudulent because of a slow start to bowl season. So is bowl season dead and the games don't matter, or are the results incredibly telling and the end-all be-all of the sport's competitive balance? Because people have got to pick a side. All I've heard this entire beginning of the bowl season is that the games are dead, they don't matter, nobody cares. But then conveniently, when the SEC loses the games, it's incredibly telling of the sport as a whole. And talking about how the middle-of-the-pack teams in the conference were inflated, giving those upper teams quality wins, a term that a lot of people hate. So the 9 seed in the SEC, Missouri, they lost to the ACC runner-up in Virginia last night by 6 points without their starting quarterback and their top pass catchers. The 10 seed in the SEC, LSU, lost to the 4 seed in the Big 12, Houston, by only a field goal without their quarterback, without their coach, missing a lot of pieces. Those aren't even. If LSU, who's a 10 seed in the SEC, played, hang on, let me find the Big 12 standings real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. LSU versus Cincinnati. I'm not going to stand for the hypothetical win, shut up crap. LSU versus Cincinnati, what do you guys think is going to happen? Seriously, what do you think would happen if the even-seeded teams played each other? And then for the ACC, Missouri was 9th in the SEC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It was Clemson. Missouri versus Clemson. We saw Clemson against Penn State the other day. I mean, what do you guys expect is going to happen? If both teams are fully healthy, what do you think is going to happen? I know what I think is going to happen. I know what I think. So, if the SEC is fraudulent because the 9th and 10th seed in the SEC barely lost to a conference runner-up and top 4 seed by 1 scores, both missing their quarterbacks and elite playmakers, I guess that's where the sport is. I guess that's where we are. And really my main point when it comes to this is just, do bowl games not matter? Or are they the end-all, be-all of the sport? Because it seems like everybody who wants to go anti-SEC is swinging both ways. Pick a side and stand on it. How about it? If you think bowl games are dead, there shouldn't be a conversation. If you think bowl games are alive, then this debate is totally healthy. Then it's fine. But the amount of people who have gone both ways, where it's bowl games don't matter, nobody cares about these, to then all of a sudden look at how bad the SEC is because of this bowl game result, doesn't make any sense. It's hypocritical. And it doesn't make any sense. But then in terms of the playoff, all right, people complaining about how many SEC teams got in. It's 5. It's 5? It's 5. What could have been done differently in the minds of people who think that? Like, what lineup of teams would have made more sense? I think really the only debate is probably Alabama, right? Because even though people didn't necessarily love Oklahoma as a team, it was really hard to, debate them resume-wise to make the playoffs. So really the only one is Alabama. And it was between them, Notre Dame, and BYU. Because Miami got in, so the teams that were out between Bama, Notre Dame, BYU. The Irish, they didn't deserve it. They lost to the only 2 playoff caliber teams that they played in Miami and A&M, and they had no conference title to lay back on. Or, to kind of hang their hat on. Bama did. And Bama, you can't drop a team for playing in their conference championship game. Now, before I hear everybody saying BYU. I can already hear it. Before you clap back at me, I dare you to let me explain this. So let me get it off. For BYU, they were ranked 11th at the time of the Big 12 championship game. Ranked 11th does not mean they are currently seated in the playoff. They weren't. They weren't in the playoff because of the nightmare that the ACC was. So BYU was ranked 11th. They were not slotted for a playoff seed at that point because it was going to be the 4 Power 4s, the at-larges that were ahead of them, and then the 2 Group of 5 champions. So BYU did not get dropped out of the playoff for losing their conference championship game. They simply weren't awarded a jump for getting demolished by Texas Tech for the second time in the season. That's what happened. BYU was not dropped from the playoff. They weren't in the bracket. They weren't. So people complaining about BYU getting dropped out of the bracket for losing that game are either just ignorant and dumb, or they're just pushing an anti-SEC agenda because it's convenient for them. But BYU missed the playoff because the committee did not award them for getting blown out. That's what happened. So my question for why are there 5 SEC teams in the playoff crowd is, seriously, what made more sense? What made more sense for the playoff committee to do? Neither of those teams, Notre Dame or BYU, deserve to be in. And behind them, guess what? It was Texas and Vandy. They're everywhere. So I understand. People have SEC fatigue. That's fine. It doesn't mean they're not still the class of the sport. And to me, when it comes to breaking down conferences, right, and grading out which, A better than B, B better than C, it's really overall depth. Because the top of the Big Ten is better than the top of the SEC. That is not a debate that I think the SEC wins. Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, that top 3 is better than the SEC's top 3. That's not a debate on my mind. But the overall depth of it, that's what college football is supposed to. It's not supposed to be 3 teams dominating the league all the time. It's supposed to be a deep conference. And the depth between the SEC and the Big Ten just isn't close. I mean, look at the talent composite, the power ratings, all of that. But then people want to look at the bowl games that they don't even care about and say that is the end-all, be-all. Pick a side. Pick a side. And then we can have conversations about, opt-outs on both sides, yada, 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 all that. Who cares? Who wanted to be there? That debate can then be had. But before that debate can be had, there needs to be a consensus of, do you think the bowl games matter or if they don't? Because you can't say they don't matter and then harp on why the SEC sucks because they've lost 2 bowl games. You can't. So that's where I'm at with that. Look, the SEC, sure, I mean, the NIL, it's spreading talent around. And the gap between the SEC and, the Big Ten and the rest of the sport is shrinking. SEC and Big Ten as a whole, they're up. The rest of the sport's being left. But, I mean, the SEC's lead is definitely smaller than it was even 5 years ago. That doesn't mean that it's gone. It doesn't mean that it's gone. And the argument that bowl games are the proof of this it's lost on me. It makes no sense. But in my mind, the SEC is not fraudulent, and the playoff it was right. There was nothing different that could have been done that would have made any sense. That would have involved leaving 1 or 2 more SEC teams out. So that's that. Hopefully this got some people fired up because that's the beauty of this sport is that we get to talk about it. We get to have heated discussions like this. So whether you agree or disagree, if you want to call me names, do it. Please, I'm serious. I love it. I love this stuff so much. So if you watched to the end of this video, I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter. I've been Will Thomas, and I will see you guys next time.